Was good with y'all boys, man? Real game official, man. And we back with another lit banger. You see what I'm saying, man? This video is a little bit old from 2 years ago, man. But it seemed like the old videos y'all rock with. And I rock with them too, man. It be exposing stuff some people may not have seen. And I haven't seen this before. But an ESPN analyst gets destroyed for disrespecting Larry Bird. And that analyst is the head coach of the Lakers, known as JJ Redick. Y'all know how I feel about JJ Redick and Steve Nash. So let's get into this video. Let's see him get ethered.
Larry Bird is highly regarded as one of the 10 best players in NBA history. He was highly skilled, a great scorer, as well as a great passer. And when it came to his Celtics teams, he was highly valuable to their overall success. Now, with that being said, Larry Bird, like most older legends, is losing respect as time goes on. And when it comes to ESPN, I was absolutely floored to see a former NBA player insulting Larry Bird and saying point blank he is not one of the greatest shooters in NBA history.
Get out of here.
And I think the NBA has gotten way past the balance and watching guys give up dunks to shoot threes on fast breaks. That kind of thing. I think that has hurt the game a lot. Now, that's me. I am old school, as we all know. JJ, perfect. But, you know, Bird shot plenty of threes. And they had Parrish and McHale. Bird shot plenty of threes. The best. And Bird is one of the great shooters in the history of the sport. Not even close.
Bird shot threes. He never was a volume shooter from three.
No, I know that. But he was a great three-point shooter. He was not good. He was great.
So, stopping that clip right there, Redick, at the very end, had the face.
What is JJ Redick off of? What you taking, bro? Like, you not even top 50 shooters of all time. You not even top 50. You was alright. You wasn't like that. Like, you was a role player. Be quiet. Don't ever speak on Bird.
Facial expression of someone who is annoyed and disgusted by Larry Legend being called one of the best shooters of all time.
Out of here.
And for someone like Redick, it might be hard to understand that players in the past were also great players.
But for him, look at all that.
He is so preoccupied with boosting up today's players, he downplays and disrespects past eras.
Exactly. Like, who are you? Who are you to have any credentials? What did you do? What did you really do with the Clippers? You was a spot-up shooter. Don't ever speak on nobody great. You were never great at anything. And you suck at coaching.
Like Bird, Cousy, as well as Jerry West. Now, getting on to the actual argument, Larry Bird, in his era, there was a three-point line that was introduced his first year. But for middle school, high school, even college, he had no three-point line. That is some very important context a lot of fans either don't know or try to ignore. And one more thing I do want to add, when Bird came into the NBA, he was actually a power forward who played primarily on the block. And despite that, in his first year in the NBA, he shot 40.6% from behind the arc. In terms of percentage, he ranked third in the NBA. He was fifth in total threes.
Yeah, ethered is clown. Wrong with him.
In threes attempted. As a rookie off the bat, Larry Bird was the best three-point shooter in 1980.
And he won a three-point contest.
What makes it even more impressive, out of the qualifiers for three-point shooting, he was the only power forward to make the list, once again proving how much of a unicorn he really was.
He's one of the top 5 three-point shooters of all time. That's how good Bird is. Oh, yes.
We're not
three-point shooting contests. He was phenomenal.
Stephen A.
Wait a minute.
Great shooter.
Shh, be quiet.
And Bird didn't shoot.
Bird is absolutely one of the greatest shooters ever, but he's not one of the top 5 three-point, top 3, whatever
Did you see the three-point shooting that he put on, those clinics that he put on at the All-Star game?
Again,
did you watch?
Doggy, it's just math. It's attempts, it's makes, and it's percentage. And there's no way you could ever argue Larry Bird is a top 3 three-point shooter of all time. You can't make that argument.
You're basing it on math. You're basing it on math and a time of when he played. I'm basing it on just shooting.
Now, looking at JJ in this clip, he once again provides no context, saying, quote, "It's about makes, attempts, and percentage." Looking at the raw numbers, with no context, no data, and no additional information. That argument right there, going on stats alone, is highly disingenuous. For example, look at the mid and early 2000s. Back in that era, averaging 30 points was extremely difficult for people like Kobe, Allen Iverson, and even T-Mac. Being knowledgeable NBA fans, we know that era had a much slower pace, the paint was more crowded, and scoring was definitely more difficult. When looking at the raw stats with no context, players in today's league averaging 30 were more efficient compared to Kobe, as was Iverson. And like Redick said, it's makes, attempts, and percentage. Someone like SGA, off the pure raw stats, was a better scorer than peak Iverson. And someone like Tatum technically was more impressive than the early 2000s Kobe. My overall point being, stats like usual require context. The same thing goes to Larry Bird and his shooting percentage. And speaking of that percentage, looking at Bird, after 1984, when he stopped playing power forward, his overall shooting splits were highly impressive. Shooting 50% from the field, 39.8% from three, and 90% from the line. During that time period, 5 different times he shot above 40% from three, and his highest season was at 42.7%. And going year by year, in 85, he was 4th in three-point makes. 86, he was 1st.
Come on, 4th in 1985, 1st in 1986, 1st, number 1 in 1987, 1988, 4th. And y'all saying, he not y'all. Well, yeah, y'all, Stephen A and you. He not a top 5 shooter.
87 also 1st, and 88 he was 4th. For peak Larry Bird, from 85 to 88, he was 1st in threes made,
minimum a top 10
attempted,
shooter of all time,
and 4th in three-point percentage. For his overall era, in terms of volume and percentage, he was the Steph Curry of the late 1980s.
Bird is an unbelievable.
Again, we had this discussion the other day. About James Naismith. James Naismith invented the game. You were rewarded for putting the ball in the basket. There's plenty of people that have shot more, made more, and guess what? Made more at a higher percentage than Larry Bird from three. I'm not saying Larry Bird is not one of the greatest shooters ever. He's not one of the greatest three-point shooters ever. You cannot make that argument.
Yes, I'm sorry. Because the 80s is so much different. There's physicality, the way they guarded people.
This y'all coach. This y'all coach up in L.A. This y'all coach. This how smart he is. Airhead.
Doggy, I've been trying to make a point. Seriously, I've been trying to make a point for you, Doug.
So once again, Redick has 0 historical context and wants to make basketball black and white and about percentage and stats. And looking at Larry Bird, like I said before, he was one of the pioneers of the high-volume three-point shooters from day one in the NBA. And for a big man, he was especially unique in his time because most forwards didn't dare step out to shoot threes. And Bird's overall influence, much like Steph Curry, had a big effect on the game going forward, for guys like Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, and even Jason Tatum. And one thing I do want to nail home, in 1980, three-point shooting was a gimmick and a joke for most coaches. But for Larry Bird, in a 5-year period, he legitimized it, was shooting upwards of 40%, really not knowing what he was doing for his time. And like I said before, peak Larry Bird was an elite and all-time great three-point shooter. As from 85 to 88, he shot 41.4% from behind the arc, when the league average was 29.5%. Once again showing Bird was light years ahead of the curve and is a unicorn for his time period given his size, volume, as well as percentage. And one more thing I do want to reiterate is stats with 0 context. As any average Joe off the street can look at a box score, look at a percentage, and read it and tell if it's good or bad. But a real smart NBA fan, what they do, they look at the context, the peak, and the overall era. As looking at raw stats as a simpleton, someone like Kobe and his career stats aren't as impressive as Damian Lillard when it comes to scoring. As Dame compared to Kobe, averages more points, a higher true shooting percentage, higher three percentage, and higher free throw percentage. Would anyone in their right mind say Dame Lillard was a better overall scorer than Kobe. Because looking at the numbers, remember, makes, attempts, and percentage.
The stats, bro,
Dame
he's
Lillard
like, people like JJ Redick and them and Stephen A. Smith, they just like, what's his name? What's that dude name that we did a video on? I forgot his name, but Low. He like Low. Like, people like that just bring stats up. Stats don't always tell the dang story. You gotta watch the film. Like, watch the film. I'm sick of all these stats. Like, people always saying stats to back up an argument. Like, stats don't never tell the full story, bro. Like, unless you have to watch that game. Like, when I seen them bronze stats, at first I didn't believe him, but then when it was footage of how he did what he did and how the stats was how the stats was, bro. Okay, that was proof. Okay, like, that person can't shoot, or that person played bad, or that person is not a good scorer. Like, you got to see film with the stats. I'm not going to sit here and say stats don't matter, but seeing the film and the play going along with the stats is a better argument than just going off of blankly stats and shot attempts. Like, come on now.
In fact, was a better scorer. And once again, looking at Bird, at his absolute peak in the playoffs, he was phenomenal. As an 86, he averaged 25.9 points, 9.3 boards, 8.2 assists on 52, 41, and 93 splits. For NBA history, Larry Bird was the first player ever to have a high-volume 50, 40, 90 postseason run. And since Bird, only KD and Kawhi have joined him on that list.
Let's say Steph Curry, for example.
Right.
When I watch Steph Curry off the ball in a playoff game,
Oh, he's great.
getting grabbed and held by Marcus Smart, they're attached to him at all times.
Right.
Then when I watch Larry Bird come off a pin down and no one's within 5 feet of him and they're shooting the gap, you're telling me one is more physical than the other? You're telling me that's more physical than Steph Curry being grabbed and held for 48 minutes?
What is he talking about?
Now, stopping Redick
compare
right
the-
there,
The
when talking
80s
about
when
any
Bird
era of
played to
basketball,
now, like, they
there are
played
always
different.
good defensive teams
What is he talking
and
about?
bad defensive teams. But for Redick, when it comes to Bird's era, he only focuses in on the bad defense. Compared to Steph's era,
ain't even have
where
bad
he totally ignores the bad defense and the awful teams like Houston, Charlotte, and San Antonio. And as a basketball fan on YouTube, it takes about 5 minutes to find Larry Bird playing against very physical defense who grabs him, holds him, double teams him, and does all types of things.
That look like
to limit
bad
his
defense to
shots
me.
and his
Is that
shooting
bad
space.
defense to y'all?
And when
Like,
speaking
come on,
of
bro.
the 80s,
That's bad
when it
defense
came
to
to
you?
the Pistons, they had Dennis
JJ
Rodman,
Redick?
Joe Dumars. The Lakers had Cooper and Worthy.
Got it.
Philadelphia had Bobby Jones and Caldwell Jones. Players like Allen Robinson, Larry Nance, Sidney Moncrief, Buck Williams. You had great defenders on all-time great defensive teams. And just like Redick, I could cherry pick bad plays here, bad plays there, from any era. At the end of the day, it makes no sense doing that. You have to watch the film, understand the era, and provide context to what you're watching. Yes, back in the day, they played very close and compact to the basket. That's because back then, they didn't know the value of three-point shooting.
I'm saying it was a
But
different
someone like
game
Bird
back then.
was a pioneer and an innovator of three-point shots for big men and just players in general. And one last thing I do want to throw in there, looking at Larry Bird, Mad Dog Russo brought up the NBA Finals. For Bird in the Finals, for his career, in 5 trips collectively, he shot 42.2% from behind the arc. And when it came to clutch time play, in the final 5 minutes, shot a staggering 42.8%. If you look at three-point shooting for Larry Bird, at the biggest times when the stakes were highest, he elevated his game and rose to the occasion. And like Pat Riley said, Larry Legend is the guy you want taking the shot when the clock's winding down. So that right there is my last overall point. And when it comes to Bird, I personally think he's a top 10 shooter of all time. If you want to say top 5, I definitely wouldn't push back too heavily given his era and how good he was for his time period. And for Redick, as you guys know, I am not a big fan of him or his takes regarding past legends. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
Yo, W Vid, man. I'm glad they ethered JJ Redick. He sound crazy. But that's the end of the video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know y'all thoughts on the this video, bro, and what y'all think about JJ Redick. Was he right or wrong? Let me know in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe to the next video. I'm out.